Welcome back to the absolute most professional StarCraft 2 with the greatest player in the history of the game. In the red, the finisher, it's Serral. But possibly the only player with a chance of ever surpassing him. In the blue, the Terran from Team Liquid, the kid, it's Clem. A best of 5 Terran versus Zerg showdown, the absolute best of the best. Which means just one more thing left to test, and it's whether I can cleverly segue into begging you for likes. And if you haven't made it there yet, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? Quickly! 1,427 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than these drones as the Reaper comes in to inflict devastating emotional and possibly physical damage. Drones forced into the Spore Crawler. Queen pops out. Quick inject and now tends to the flock. But the in the hands of Clem, these Reapers are absolutely... Oh my. He drew first blood! Brenda, it's game 1. We can't do this. You're gonna weird people out. So, I don't... Well, pops one of the queens to the side, and now drones, even going for the third, gonna have a tough time. Queen will politely yet firmly ask the Reaper to leave, but like many Terrans, doesn't really take social cues very well. And another drone comes down. The Queen now stuck on the other side, pops out of the extractor. I'm not sure what the thought process there was. It loses the drone to the Reaper anyways, pops it back, looking for the creep tumor, not gonna find it in time. But that Reaper slowed down the third base, killed 2 drones. This Queen's been ambling off a creep for like a minute now. So overall, not a great start for the greatest player. As Clem, the details, the devil's in them, and right now, Clem is making things incredibly difficult. And speaking of, Hellions on the way. So, the Reaper's just the appetizer. But the Hellions, and Queen's holding the line, but the Reaper's still going! It's still in the main, there's a Roach Warren on the way. Usually, the Reaper is mostly for scouting. Occasionally for blocking the base, maybe sniping a creep tumor, but Clem has turned it... Like, this is just disrespectful. You know this is Serral, right? Hellions at the front. Not able to come down the third, but Roach is on the way. Clem has carved out plenty of space, and a couple Roaches may help in driving this back. Does he have a third command center back at home? Of course he does. 3 CC already done. Cook, Banshee's on the way. The drones were thinking about coming down, but Serral's drones, nowhere is safe. The illusion of safety is very thin right now, as the Hellions could dart in. And in fact, he's splitting the Hellions to both control the creep and potentially kill off the drones, which definitely one of those don't try this at home sort of styles. But this is buying plenty of space for Clem to get the rest of his infrastructure up. He's getting double engineering bay, 2 more barracks. The cloaked Banshees will be the backstop against any sort of Roach pressure. On top of the fact that they're more than competent at killing drones on their own, assuming Serral doesn't come across the map. And Serral, he is the standard. He is the macro Zerg. I can count, well, I can probably count on more than one hand the amount of times he's done like a crazy Roach all-in, but it's certainly more rare than his counterparts, Raynor and Dark. But Evo Chamber block into the Roaches. And stop right there, criminal scum. Serral shuts it down. But now the Cloaked Banshee gonna start poking at the Queens. Overseers are done as Serral starts to stabilize, and he does have 66 drones, which... All right, Banshee's driven away. 1-1 ranged attack in Carapace in production. So it is going to be a Roach-based composition. Sometimes we'll see mutas on this map as you have a closer air distance than pretty much any other map in the pool. Another Banshee comes up and flies into the same 2 Queens and Overseer combo. Who could have predicted this? But the key part of this is not so much that Clem hasn't done critical damage. He hasn't killed that many drones. He hasn't really kept control of that much of the creep. Though, it definitely could be further out. He has 5 barracks up now. His double engineering base, he's got upgrades 30 seconds quicker. He's had his 3rd base up and mining for quite a while. And he's dropping mules and he's within 5 workers. There's a Nidus network as part of a multi-pronged max out roach timing. But Clem keeps coming in, and despite the Spore Crawler, finds a couple more drone kills. So, will he see the Nidus? There's vision, I think, all the way to the edge. There might be a tiny corner here, if Serral places it just right, that Clem doesn't have vision of. But I seriously doubt he's not going to be paying attention to that corner. Another factory's on the way. The network is online, and now it's time to test it out. Yeah. Oh, that's a changeling. All right, I saw a blue dot on the minimap, and I got a little scared. A double medevac slurps up the Marines as Serral heads to the front. And, yeah, Clem knows about that one. But the Hellions and a Banshee, double drop clearing up the creep, but Serral's just hitting the front, and Clem did not react at all to the Nidus in the main. He's been too busy, stretched a little bit too thinly, though Serral is actually going to be supply blocked. So how well can he deal with the attack at the front and the roaches in the main? Contaminate on the siege tank in production. Roaches and Ravagers chewing through the Marine count. But so far, Serral, who's killed a handful of SCVs, but the Marines are going straight for the base. The hatchery under fire. And the Marines may take it out on their own. The Orbital Commando, there's a Banshee still on this base. He actually kills the Orbital. They're both supply blocked, losing bases left, right, and center. The Roaches popping out of the double Nidus. A fiber connection here as the network is starting to spew out Roaches. Meanwhile, the Marines have killed another hatchery. Clem cutting through to the heart of the swarm. Whereas the Terran army is starting to stabilize back at home. The Roaches not making any more progress. But Clem losing that orbital was, well, maybe not an unforced error, but an uncharacteristic one. As both of them defending 2 prongs on either side. And so far, I think Clem has done a slightly better job, and the supplies agree with me. If you look at the supply right now, oh, no, don't lose that Nidus! Oh no, Serral. Clem says, you're not locked in here with... Wait, you are locked in here with me. Whatever one makes the most sense. The Ravagers with Corrosive Bile, a bit of an optimistic choice, considering the situation. Easily dodges out of it. But wait, there's more of the Queens holding the line, and the Frenchmen trying to take them out. But this time, the Monarchy will hold. The Ravagers, another Nidus. I'm not sure what the intent of it was, but considering, well, if you look at the army supplies, the fact that they're drawing closer to even, and another Nidus spewing out Roaches towards the 3rd, but equal army supply does not equal armies. Okay, let me unmelt my brain after saying that for a moment. But the army value for Clem is double the gas. He has siege tanks, Marines. Roaches are just not supply efficient. They get in all these nooks and crannies that you never ever want them to be, so an aptly named unit. Tunneling Claws is on the way to kind of go the other direction with that. But the fact that Clem has a supply lead with Marines, medevacs, and siege tanks, and he's already started his +2 infantry weapons after this hectic exchange, bodes very well for the Frenchmen. The income now back towards, losing that orbital really hurt. If Clem had kept the orbital alive, I would say he's a shoo-in for victory here. But without it, he doesn't really have the economy to take advantage of that army. Or he doesn't want to risk it at the very least. That's why all the siege tanks are sitting back at home instead of trundling across the map. But he's going to clear up the Nidus worms. Try to throttle the network a bit. Meanwhile, more drops to the north side. And Roach Ravager. I don't blame Serral for trying this very aggressive style, because Roach Ravager, you don't want to be just playing whack-a-mole against medevacs, because it makes it a lot harder when the moles can fly. And heal. How convenient. Well, the drop's incessant here. The Nidus. SCVs pulled off the line just to help out. Siege tank should be able to get the job done. Another drop. But the Queens may take out one of the medevacs. Another drop in the natural. Infestation pit could be targeted, delaying Hive even further. At this point, Clem is very aware. He's building the missile turrets to help deal with the burrow move roaches. The tunneling clause is complete. He's very aware of that. The siege tanks are stuck in the main alongside a bunch of Marines behind him. He actually had the depots, and down goes a medevac with all hands. Serral, just like that, up 20 supply. Though losing the infestation pit, the tech tree keeps getting chopped off. And Serral desperately, as we get back towards 200 supply. Wow, these two. The fact that Clem has more APM than Serral is madness, by the way. The amount of APM just to kind of play a baseline Zerg at this level, well, Serral is probably the most efficient player in the game. Susan! No! Clem guillotining the Queens, but he actually burrows one. Serral thinking about all the options here. But that is a lot of siege tanks. Oh, the Maginot line coming together. And the Roach Raptor might be able to bust right through. But an even better strategy is circumventing it entirely. But Clem has decided to go forward, though he might have to take several steps back. As a Nidus in the main, and the Roaches are back yet again. The siege tanks could find a nasty position over this mineral wall. The tunneling claws trying to close the distance on the tanks. The SCVs fighting the... I've never quite seen that. SCVs fighting Roaches in melee, but they're underground. Just knocks out several tanks, but firing over the mineral line. The volleys just slamming into Serral's army. And there's no easy way around here. He really should have taken out that mineral wall earlier, but there's obviously so much going on right now. There's a drop towards the top left corner of the main that even Clem hasn't really paid attention to, as he's trying to deal with the attack at the front, cancels the command center in time. Still moving forward with the siege tanks, and that hatchery is so important for Serral. He's building another one. The drop in the main. More Queens kind of caught in the corner. Not the French Revolution. Continues. Down goes a hatch. And the burrow move Roaches. Did he rebuild any... Does he see the Roach sign? Oh my god, it's so obvious. Well, he does have some turrets. Pops in. There's some more Roaches around in the mineral line as well. Serral keeping him so busy right now. But Vipers on the way. Roaches in production. He finally finished a hive, but at what cost? He's barely mining from the fourth. Clem is taking his fourth now. There's still a Nidus in the main. What a game. Concussive Shells is about to complete for the Marauders that he's finally starting to mix in. Actually, I think he has a bunch of Marauders on the field. Not having Concussive Shells is quite an oversight at this stage. More Overlords going to die. Serral's lost a surprising amount of Overlords. There's 11 of them. Not Overseers, Overlords that were sniped off, and maybe one or two is usually for scouting, but any more than that, they were just kind of hung out to dry. Does he have Overlord speed? He does not. I think a bunch of them were in this natural area. The Overlord convention was sniped off. Even an SCV, that's how hectic the game is he's doing the Diamond League mistake of accidentally grabbing an SCV and throwing it into the medevac. And now, attack in the bottom left. The Nidus has been rebuilt. I think he had some burrowed Roaches, and he built that attack off of it. Even the SCV drawing some fire. More Queens going down. Another army snipes off a hatchery. Burrow move Roaches and Zerglings just getting obliterated. But another Nidus makes its way into the main. A drop at the back. A single Marauder survives and will continue forward. Roaches on top of the tanks. Clem still with 2 drops ready. Picks up again after dealing, well, as much damage as possible. Serral down to 53 drones. Clem down to 48 SCVs. But in this sort of scenario, with Ghosts on the way and +3 already done, advantage clearly headed towards the Frenchman. He has the better army, he has a similar economy, and Serral has been able to keep the pressure on and actually strike back, which is impressive in its own right. But there's no real, the only progression here is Vipers, and Clem is already going to have the options to deal with them. That siege tank count is so damn high. A few good blinding clouds, and maybe, well, he has to hide the Vipers until the best possible moment, because he's only really going to get one shot and one opportunity. We'll see if he captures it. The Vipers, maybe looking for a parabomb. Did he lose his armory? At some point, Clem lost the armory. I think it was in the main. Most of the main base has been cleared out. As, Serral has carved his way through. But he's down to 50 drones. That's not enough. That is not the economy he needs. He's had a slight advantage. And maybe about a base advantage there. It was around 1,000 resources, though. Unfortunately, we don't have the spread of minerals and gas, just total resources. Oh, get over here! Yanks him in, knocks him down. And just like that, Clem losing map control, but still one more drop. Snipes off some more drones. Serral trying to replenish them, but the moment he puts them back up, it feels like Clem cuts them right down. Building armor on the way. Clem may not have realized he didn't get +3 infantry armor. You guys gotta stop stimming. It's time for rehab. They're lurkers in production. What a bare bones, scrappy game. Neither player has really maxed out, I think, at any point. They've gotten close, but this is about the closest we've seen. A Marauder just curving and shots over the top. The ghosts. Oh no. And a Nidus in the main, but while this war might be fought with Ghosts and Vipers, the next one will be Marines and Zerglings, as they're both running out of resources. That Nidus was shut down by the casual siege tank. The lurkers. Oh god, that is a Terran. That burrowed Zergling at the base is helping out so much. The creep spread is almost non-existent, which really shows you how this game has been going. But the lurkers will be sniped in the center of the map. He didn't know where the army was. The Accidental Reaper in production. Ricky the Accidental Reaper. Yes, they share names. Blinding Cloud's attempted. Hits a lot of the tanks with them, but it does nothing to interrupt the snipes. GGWP. Clem powers through. The respect from Serral, but Clem just... The Roach Ravager has an expiration date, and that expiration date was continually extended by the fact that, well, he killed multiple hatcheries, and then he killed the infestation pit. So the hive tech and the potential lurkers and vipers were delayed by several minutes, and that's a long time in StarCraft 2. So that brings us to game 2. And I don't think I mentioned this. And Jimmy, game 2! Sorry. Like and subscribe so I can get actual help. No. But this is from the Esports World Cup. One of the series that I didn't actually see earlier, and I meant to check out, but there were so many good games, and I kind of, well, I was very happy to remember it existed on this fine day. So hopefully you are as well. But thank you for watching. Okay. Ghost River. Can't believe they named a map after him, but Serral keeping the pressure on, but I feel like Clem is just... It started from the Reaper. Like, he's redefined how much you can get away with. Usually, well, every single other Terran player maybe kills one drone in that scenario. Clem killed 2 drones, delayed the 3rd, and then got back in, forced more of a response, and kept the Reaper in the mineral line against someone who already had queens until the Hellions were already across the map. The amount of time he bought himself. The Chronomancer. And what does Zerg have an answer? I've been trying and failing, I know, to make an effort at kind of explaining why. I've seen so many. I played 50,000 games, cast. A significant fraction of that. Not everyone has played and watched StarCraft 2 all the time, because they haven't subscribed, obviously. But so I try to explain why these things are so good and so important, and why, for example, Serral is unable to find a response. And the very simple answer is, if you get your spawning pool any earlier, you're wasting larva time. If you don't use your larva, you use it or you lose it, as they say, profoundly. But if you try to get a pool any quicker, then there's some time where your larva is not turning into another larva, which means it's not respawning, because there's a basic... Oh my god. Susan, how many times have we been over this? This is like the first time today. Wow. Wow. Oh, shut up, Brenda. Sorry, I blacked out for a moment. But larva respawns on the hatcheries as you use it. And if you, especially if you ever get to the point of having 3 baseline larvae, you're just wasting time. You're wasting, it's like sitting there with your command center or your barracks side. Same thing. So, until Clem and his impeccable Reaper control, it hasn't really, we haven't seen a limit test of how quickly you need to get a spawning pool. But here, we're definitely testing those boundaries. And speaking of, there's no wall. The Zerglings get in 2 SCVs. Serral invested in enough links, then snuck them out. 5 SCVs dead. That is an obscene amount, but unfortunately the Hellions get in because there's no Zerglings to stop them. He gets 3 drones. So Serral makes another round of Zerglings to deal with it. So Serral this time invested in Zerglings, counterattack, gets 6 SCVs, which was certainly worth it. But he doesn't have a massive economic lead because Clem does have that 3rd command center. And Serral cut into his drone count by building Zerglings. Way she goes. And honestly, kind of surprising that Clem had nothing at home to defend, but he's so aggressive that sometimes you can get away with it. Cloak Banshee on the way. Double Evo. So this time around, Serral may have the upgrades quicker than his Terran counterpart, which makes it a lot easier to trade against the Marines and Marauders, which we're all assuming will eventually be the threat. More on the way. Does he have any Spore Crawlers? He's adding 1 now. The Hellions may have an opportunity. God. Cloak is not quite done. The Queen has spotted the Banshee. And is there a lair? No. He's going to be reliant on Spore Crawlers in order to provide detection and maybe some anti-air. Though I seriously doubt Clem is going to get hit very much by the spores. Lair's now on the way. But Serral's able to get that +1 carapace started. No +1 melee yet. Seems like he felt obligated to get the lair before adding on the melee upgrade. Cloak Banshee darts into the 3rd, finds an angle. Yeah, that Spore Crawler is just there to say, hey guys, there's a Banshee! There's a Banshee right there, but as for actually hitting it, well, it's just a zoning mechanism mostly. God. Clem individually microing Banshees on either side. Wanders almost into the Spore. He can beat a... Oh, there's no detection. And he kills the hatch, rebuilds one. Spore Crawler coming down. He's rebuilding another Spore, but the Banshee does run... Oh, he killed the Queen! The Banshee's still doing work. Serral at 69 drones, which is a nice baseline economy, but Clem now has his 3rd... Wow, 77 drones. So again, he's overbuilding drones and then trying to fill in units, which is the customary way you play Zerg. And honestly, without 1-1 finishing up and with combat shield so far off, I think Serral is going to be able to stabilize and actually have enough production, which is something we can't say about last game. He's gotten so greedy this time around. He can pull it back into mass unit production, and he will have Baneling speed quite soon. But I think Clem's very aware of how greedy Serral's being. Is there an armory? No, but the Hellions still able to zone out. Gonna try to deal with some of the creep. There's no reason, when you have these medevacs, you always have a way out. for at least most of the Marines. Draw straws or something. So, the Queens holding for now. Pulling it together, but caught off the very edge of the creep. Oh no, you gotta get at least half your toes on the creep. All right, otherwise, joint pain. Check out more Zerg toes at my Dronely fans. Thought that joke would land a little better, but unfortunately, much like the Queen hits on this Banshee, some things weren't meant to be. Oh my. What is the last thing you want to do with your life? Inject the hatch. Alright, died like she lived. Oh! Well, meanwhile, the push is coming together. Banshee drifted out. Neither of them died, which, honestly, impressive. Serral, 72 drones. He lost a few to the Banshee, and he's spent a few building spores, not Evo chambers, extractors. So, Zergling counterattack. Clem actually sending some units back to defend. Oh, nice little pocket there for the SCVs, but army supply looking very solid here for Clem. And that siege tank is in a pretty nasty positioning. So, Banelings looking to roll through. Opening up the rocks. Doesn't want to get caught between a rock and a hard place. Viper's on the way. Just one Viper, actually. Serral is strapped for cash at the moment. And now Clem has a very comparable economy. Those siege tanks in a very difficult position. He's at least waiting out +2 Carapace. No, he decides now's the time. There's a Widow Mine, softens things up, but the Banelings are splitting and spreading and working their way through. And the Marines are forced to retreat. Overruns the siege tanks, but the vast majority of the Marines are still intact. And the Banelings must be replenished. The Viper gathering energy. The upgrade is now in favor for Serral, but Widow Mines have been added into the composition. Easier to bring up and protect, and the Vipers can do nothing against them. Oh, that Widow Mine spread. Can't believe it's not butter. And the Lings and Bane's gonna have a tough time really finding good connections. Oh no, but the Widow Mines on the other hand have no such issues as one slams home and Clem grinds out a 10 supply lead. Serral's still trying to build up. Adrenal Gland's about to complete, and he's going to hit the 4th base before the planetary fortress is done, so it will be forced to lift. Giving a little more breathing room to the finisher here, but Clem is overall keeping the lack of creep spread. It's barely outside his base. Like, it's not like he hasn't been trying, it's just Clem has been so diligent about sweeping it away. It's almost extinct at this point. How many queens are left? There's still 7 of them, though almost that many hatcheries, including the macro hatch at the natural. But just the one outlying expansion finally gets a hit on some of the Marines. Widow Mines. Oh no! Oh, try to latch on. Gets a hit. The planetary's done. Banshee comes down, and that's enough for the Zerglings. And now 2-2 is completed. Clem has just reached maximum strength for the next couple minutes. Yes, he can fill in a few more units here or there, but he's not going to have any more upgrades. He's not adding in ghosts. In fact, he doesn't even have anything but... yes, Thaddeus, the accidental cyclone. The Widow Mines. Serral trying to just run past them is actually successful. More Widow Mines, though. Drilling Claws is done. Oh, decent hits. Still a 20 supply lead for Clem. Serral actually down 8 workers. Another hatchery. And the reason that Serral was finding any success here... Oh my god. Unburrows the mine in order to prevent it from firing. Gonna draw out some more shots. The Widow Mines take massive chunks as Serral is trying to muscle... Our Blinding Cloud is the definition of mediocre. Queens will drive back the medevacs. Serral looking for any targets, but he's hard-pressed to find anything meaningful. Lings and Banes, Widow Mines still helping out. Picks up the rest into the medevacs. And Serral will reattempt a hatchery, but Clem right on top of it again. 3 more Vipers on the way. But Clem holds back at home, maintains a supply lead on the field, and has kept Serral busy, so he can't even take another hatchery. There's only so many locations to expand. There's only 2 more bases that haven't yet been taken, and they're both closer to your Terran opponent. which Serral, I'm sure, not particularly happy about. The Zerglings maybe enough, but the Bio Ball is just tearing through the natural. The Macro Hatch is under attack. Where are the Banelings? They're rolling in now, but a Liberator, some Whittle Mines, slams into the Zerglings, and what's left? Clem's at 200 supply. He just grinds right through him. Serral tries the Ling Bane instead of the Roach Ravager, and still comes up empty. I'm just not making any mistakes. The main weakness, or the main strength of Banelings, is if you don't micro perfectly, they roll over you. That is why when Marine King invented marine splitting over half of Clem's lifetime ago, it was such a mind-blowing move. And if you look at that clip of the first marine split, it's actually hilarious. It is on Shakur's Plateau, I believe. And what happens is because the Terran, or because Marine King, I'm like 95% sure it's Marine King, but because Marine King did not wall off correctly, he just messed up his wall. The Banelings, slow Banelings, off of creep, come up the ramp and try to hit about 10 Marines. So it's like 10 Banelings. And he's like, what if I... And that, back in the day, was absolute 420 IQ, brain on fire micro. I think it's because coming from Brood War, where units have the pathfinding of Christopher Columbus, where you're very lucky if they go somewhere useful, and it's entirely luck at that point. But I think that's why it was so mind-blowing at the time. But now, if a Diamond player doesn't like target fire 3 Banelings with speed on creep, you're wondering, do we even deserve to be here? How things change. Same goes for like blinking out of Whittle Mines or targeting siege tanks and stuff like that. All the little things. The thing is, Clem's doing all that, and then what you're not really paying attention to, or at least even for me, it's difficult to keep track, is while he's splitting those Marines, he just built 10 more of them in whatever tiny fraction of a second it takes for him to select his barracks, build all them, and factories and starports, build all those things, and then get back in the next quarter second to target firing Baneling. All right. We are really at the bleeding edge of things here. And I do think Serral he's making little mistakes. He's not quite nailing every engage. There's sometimes the Queen's getting caught off the creep. The Zergling's getting hit by these big Whittle Mines. He's just a tiny... I can't believe I'm saying this, but it feels like Serral's just a little bit slow. And while I of all people shouldn't criticize having less APM and being efficient with it, in this particular case, it does seem relevant. That's just rude. Sir, this is a message from the Hatchery Owners Association, the HOA, and I'll let you know, Terrans are not allowed around here. All right? It's not because we don't like the Terrans, which we don't. It's just because you're harassing our workers, okay? They're working very hard, and they have been this entire series. And now, eventually, if they work hard enough, they'll find an end to this entire joke. But you, on the other hand, Terrans in general, their whole design, I consider that a joke. Brenda, what are you doing? I'm monologuing. But, well, good luck. Shut up, Susan. Sorry. Ooh. Where were we? Golden Aura. When did we get here? The Reaper. Aliens. Oh, what? You can't be in here. I was just 2 Hellions, so he went for a quick 3 hatch, which means no Zergling speed. So I think Clem, seeing that, says, well, it's free real estate, at least for the most part. Hellions get in. A Roach is on the way as well, but oh my god, he gets another gun. And what? But wait, there's more! Oh no. It just keeps piling on. Like, Serral has lost 5 drones. It's not terrible. Definitely not great, but not terrible. 5 drones you can recover from easily enough. Don't. He wants to. And it's important to maintain the threat. You can't have the Zergs cutting any corners, because that just makes it a little easier to slip your Hellions by. Banshee now on the way across. There's Cloak as well. It feels like, again, Serral's gonna have a huge amount of drones. Well... Oh. Well. Oh, hell no. 12 drones this time, incinerated by the Hellions. This... Well... It couldn't be much worse. The Banshee comes in to top things off as the revolving door of worker harassment continues to slam into the drones the moment they're built and knock them out. I don't know. Like, this is already too much damage. If it was another Terran, pretty much any other Terran, then I wouldn't be too hard-pressed to say Serral can bring it back. But considering this sort of situation happened in both games, except this one is by far the worst. Oh, oh my god. A strong gust of wind would kill that Banshee. 2 kills left. There's 17 kills, a total of 22 for 8 Hellions and a Reaper. Clem has a 3rd base up. Serral is just now taking his 4th, but he has a lair done. He has speed, plus 1/1 on the way, but Clem is about to finish his 1/1. He's got a 2nd factory in production. He's already got 5 barracks up. There's nothing stopping him from moving out the moment these medevacs are completed. And here we go. Those Banshees with like 10% of a Banshee between them. But when they're still alive, that means no sort of counterattack will be particularly successful, as the Banshees will shut down small ones and large ones will leave him vulnerable to direct attack from the medevacs. Clem has covered all his bases and all of Serral's. Had 2 SCVs contracted out. Creep tumor shut down. You can really feel how much pressure Clem's putting on, not just by how many drones are being slaughtered, but by the control of the creep. The creep is a great indicator of the state of the game in Terran versus Zerg. If it's barely outside of the bases, Zerg is on their last legs. They have a lot of legs too, so that's very concerning. I think he just canceled that hatch instead of bothering. If it's halfway across the map, it could go either way. If it's encroaching on the Terran's bases, obviously, if you don't already have a bunch of ghosts and siege tanks, you're going to have a tough time. But Serral's starting to stabilize a bit. He has Baneling speed on the way, +1 melee. But Clem is just... He's got more drops than a Skrillex album. He's got 2-2 in production. He's got the army to deal with this. There has been nothing. I don't even know if Serral has had a single unit past the halfway mark of the map. Like, that's how this is going. Drop towards the main. That's not enough roaches to deal with this bio ball. He's going to have the siege tanks help out as well. More banelings rolling in. Double drop into the main. And those are not speed banes, which means they're target practice. Double drop. He realizes that with the Banshees, he could easily deal with this. Baneling speed is now done, but he's off creep. The Marines continue to guillotine the queens, and there's no detection here. The Banshees are back. Corrosive Bile He actually hits both, but he kills the queens anyways. The Marines are stimming in, and Serral is just falling apart. He's never been together. This game, almost from the start, has been in pieces, but... Oh no. Get on my creep! Brenda. Shh. But they killed the... Ten more drones dead. Clem now has an 8-worker lead. He's near 200 supply. And he's just carved this open. Serral has managed to make it to Hive. He may kill another medevac, mostly full of Marines. But the Viper count is damn high here. Blinding Cloud could be devastating. He has Blinding Clouds on almost all the tanks. Make that all the tanks. Loses one Viper. Corrosive Bile helpful. But there's an upgrade advantage for the Marines. He needs to just fight them heads up. But there's only 6 Banelings on the map. He's building 9 more. He's getting an Ultralisk Cavern, which seems optimistic. More Corrosive Biles. As Serral is being ground down. And here comes the drops from the left side. Actually knocks into the Marines. Sprays out the Corrosive Bile. Viper's trying to get involved. But Serral is bleeding out. This has been about an 8-minute death animation. But now I think we're reaching the dramatic conclusion. Parasitic Bomb, another one. But the medevacs at this point are not even... How do you kill the bio? He's got 3-3 on the way. Serral manages to finish his upgrades. There's Ultralists in production. But I'm not sure Ultras are exactly the ticket to safety here. Finds a few SCVs, which may actually help Clem, as he has arguably too many. JJ, a clean sweep against the rank 1 player in the world. Clem, demonstrating he knows exactly what to do in order to defeat not only the Zerg, but the Zerg. And I think Serral is going to have to go back to the drawing board, if he can, to figure out how to deal with it. And that brings us to our bonus game, our anti-spoiler bonus game. For comparison, on that exact same map, we have Serral versus Coffee. All right, no, not the drink you enjoy on a probably too regular basis, but instead, the 10th ranked Terran player in the world. So Clem is the rank 1 Terran player. Coffee is the rank 10 Terran player. So you might be like, well, that's nothing. Remember, there are several 100,000 players in StarCraft 2, and a disproportionate amount of them play Terran. So, not the whole series, just here on Golden Aura. So there are only 8 players between Clem and Coffee. I do wonder what sort of scale we're going to see, though. I haven't seen this match either. Though, I'm going to go ahead and make an assumption that Coffee not quite, well, based on the ranking, probably not quite as accomplished. So I do want to see if Serral either changed his game up for Clem or became so predictable Clem easily dealt with it. Because I believe this match was played beforehand. Not... The way most Zerg players nowadays have been dealing with the how do we have it? Roach timings. Alright, roach timings. Rainer and Dark, both great roach timing aficionados. Shin as well is up there with it. But the sit back, relax, and it feels like you can't play a lower accurate Zerg anymore. At least not against Clem, obviously. Because, very simply, those Terran units are just too efficient. You no longer have... You saw what happened when Serral tried to take a third. This is actually Zergling speed. at a standard time, not a quick third. So no real opportunity. How many drones did this Reaper kill? 0? Are you even trying? Reaper, popping into the main. I think another kind of art form that Dark especially has perfected is the Ravager. Serral has never been a huge Ravager user. I was trying to come up with something slightly clever, more clever than that, but Ravager is what I came up with. Wow, that was certainly not as dramatic of a Reaper as we saw not too long ago. But the Ravagers, in order to help deal with, well, early pressure and then anything later on. Because Ravagers, they force micro. They force units out of position. They give you options for dealing with tanks and Liberators. Not that they're particularly great against large amounts of Marines, but they can give you the tempo advantage. Which means, well, Serral very lacking in the ability to actually attack Clem. Right, it never really got the unit composition together in time before Clem was already battering down his door, all the doors, and some that didn't even exist and just cutting his way through. God. Roach Horn on the way. Banshee spotted. Is it Cloak? No. I think you already see the difference with Coffee. Just, this is your more standard Hellion play. This is what we would have accepted as a normal Hellion play not even a year ago. You sit on the edge of the creep, you poke the creep tumors, maybe if they're a little out of position, maybe you run by, but it's rare. You don't spend more time on the creep than often. But you already see the creep spread getting out quite far. Is that Burrow? No, the misclick Burrow, a classic tactic. Coffee playing very timid with those Hellions. Does not want to get surrounded. +1. Infantry weapons on the way. And armor, of course. 2 Evo chambers for sale, but they're significantly lighter. 5 more barracks on the way. The Banshees? Do they not have cloak? No cloak. No upgrades at all right now. Coffee. There's a changeling block the Marines from hunting down the Overseer, which is pretty great. No, a remarkably, we've seen, it's been 6 minutes and I'm almost getting whiplash from this. As it feels like the coffee just ran out when watching this one, because Serral just doing what he wants to do, which is sit back, build up, get that 80 drone, 4 base economy, and then start hitting every possible angle. Whereas Coffee has also sat back and built up, though hasn't really scaled as quickly as Serral has managed to here. As, well, when you let a Zerg go quite lore accurately, they will build up incredibly fast. And that creep spread already halfway across the map. Well, clearing out some of the creep. There are so many creep tumors. I think he got all the active ones, but wasn't able to clear out much more than that. The medevacs chased down. There's already like 40 supply of Roach Zergling chasing it. Hellions angling towards the 4th base. +2 armor has started for and he actually finds an opportunity on those drones. Hive is nearly completed. Combat shield still not done. Almost there. And Ravager's getting caught. 1, 2, 3 of them. That's 300 gas right down the drain there. A bit lackadaisical from Serral. 2 Vipers on the way. Adrenal glands. Hellions. Not finding it. And now, Baneling speed is done, and, well, almost feels like a no-rush. It's not quite no-rush 10 minutes, but nearly there. And now the Vipers are out. There's not even a hint of ghosts. We're not even close to that part of the game yet. But with Vipers already on the field, Coffee has not been able to make much progress. And they'll expect some of us in the wreckage, brothers. Serral boxes out. Another drop. The queens converging. There's not much energy here. More queens coming up. Has to fight the marines. This is a bit awkward. 1 transfuse. Here come some roaches. Gets one of the medevacs. Now Liberator's on the way. As Coffee is getting close to maxing out. Though Contaminate. Tactical goop will slow production. Will stop production temporarily on that factory. And this is about as much army as Coffee's gonna get. The scan. Oh, but he's a little late. The springboard of the creep. The Baneling's already rolling in. Blinding Cloud. A bit late to the party, but definitely helping out as the Banelings roll through. The siege tanks negated, though the army, The Marines still stimming forward. 2-2 is about to complete. Serral made a lot of progress there, but he was fighting off a creep into a solid amount of bio. So he needs another round of Banelings coming in. The Liberators will show up. Sieges him up. Corrosive Bile, not even enough to knock down 1. That's going to make things a little bit easier. A round of Banelings is coming in. Don't know if the Vipers went back to get energy. Splits the Marines, but they've stimmed too many times. Should try Coffee. Down goes another Liberator. Coffee putting together a strong push. But the Vipers, Binding Cloud, Roaches, Ravagers, and Zerglings chasing him down. Ultra's on the way. And now we see what Serral wanted. He just never could have against Clem. Coffee's still putting up quite a fight. He didn't keep Serral's economy down to the point where, oh my god, what is he trying to tell us with these depots? Stay out. Oh, well, typical Terran. 3 Ultralists on the way. Chitinous plating as well. No Ghost Academy. 3-3 a long way off. There's some Marauders mixed in, which can help, but not even bothering with that. There's enough for a Parasitic Bomb. So, Coffee holding on, and Serral's upgrades are very late compared to the Terran. 3-3 is already on the way, whereas Serral's still a bit off 2-2. But Ultralists on the field. There's no Ghost Academy. How many siege tanks? A lot of them got cleared out. Only 3 tanks on the field. Decent amount of Marauders mixed in, and with those upgrades, even though there will be Chitinous Plating, the Marauders are still quite a threat against relatively small numbers of Ultras. Like 4 to 5. More than that is good luck. Banelings. Micros back the Marines. And easily deal with it. Well, this is getting a little dicey, but Daddy's home. And that's enough of that. Queen's dealing with the drop. One gets taken out, but the Ultras are on the chase. Oh, no. Those tanks sieged up, but they're never gonna unsiege. The Ultras will handle that for him. Just chewing it up, and just like that, Serral. Up 80 supply. Kiting back. But no, it's not gonna save you. That is far too many Ultras as Serral chews it through. And we saw, well, Coffee, a solid pressure, but just, you gotta hold his feet to the fire. Or whatever the drones have with the Hellions. If Serral's allowed to get to 4 bases without taking critical damage or being put in an awkward position, good luck. I'd say Coffee did quite a solid job of holding his own, but Serral was growing that momentum. From the time he gets the 4th base and the hive up so quick, you just build up this army that, while Terran, if they get to Ghosts and Liberators, are going to have a great time. But unless you have perfect micro, and even then, it's almost impossible to stop the tide of Ultralists from rolling over the field. Coffee just didn't make enough progress before the time ran out, and the Ultras closed the distance. But Clem, well, hopefully you enjoyed the contrast bonus game there. But Clem showing us why he's the future. And Serral, maybe the past. What do you think? Thank you for watching. I hope I made your day just a little bit better. I know this game, or this series, were a couple months old, but I think still always worth a look. And otherwise, make sure to check out the second channel for more content, stuff like that. If you got the means of motivation, the Patreon or YouTube membership as well. And no, that's it. That's all I got. I hope I made your day a little bit better. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.